Morning children. In the previous class, we all learned about plant hormones, isn't it? Today, we are going to learn about one of the important characteristic feature of living organism, that is reproduction. Okay? You all know that the characteristics of living things, isn't it, mom? Living things can grow, living things can respire, living things need food and water, living things can reproduce, isn't it? Okay, today we are going to learn about reproduction in plants. You all know that each and every organism have a particular lifespan, or it can live for a particular period on earth, isn't it? So this reproduction, it gives the continuation of the species. So reproduction is a process by which an organism produces its own kind. Okay, it ensures the continuity and survival of the species. The time required to reproduce also varies from organism to organism. What is reproduction? Reproduction is a process by which the organism produces of its own kind or young ones. The organism produces young ones. That is reproduction. The time required or the reproduce also varies from organism to organism, isn't it? There will be a great variation in the period of reproduction in yeast, bacteria, rats, elephant, human being, etc. In sexual reproduction, the offsprings are produced by the union of male and female gametes. So in sexual reproduction, the offsprings or the hybrids or the young ones are produced by the union of or by the fusion of male and female gametes. These gametes contain the genetic material or the genes present on the chromosome which transmit from parents to offspring. These characters are transmitted from one generation to the next generation. So what do you mean by reproduction? Reproduction is a process by which the organism produces its own kind or it produces its hybrid. Okay, there are three types of reproduction in plants. One is vegetative reproduction. The second one is asexual reproduction. And the third one is sexual reproduction. What are the methods of reproduction in plants? Vegetative, asexual and sexual reproduction. Okay, there are three types of reproduction in plants, namely vegetative, asexual and sexual reproduction. First, about the vegetative reproduction. Vegetative reproduction takes place by means of vegetative cells or the somatic or the new young ones or the daughter individuals are produced from the vegetative cells or from the somatic cells of the plant body. New plants are formed from vegetative cells or somatic in the sense body cells. The vegetative part of the plant such as root, stem, leaf and buds get detached from or broken from the parent body and grows into a daughter plant. This vegetative reproduction only have the mitotic division. There is no meiotic division in this vegetative method of reproduction. Only mitotic division. There is no gametic fusion. Gametic fusion in the sense there is no the fusion of male and female gamete. Okay, so there are this vegetative reproduction takes place by means of root, stem, leaf or bud. For example, in bryophyllum leaves, the margin of the leaf produce the young plant. The leaf margin or the notches of the leaves produce the young plant. So plants which are propagated by leaves, example bryophyllum. Plants which are propagated by leaves, example bryophyllum. Then next is plants which are propagated through stem. When this certain weak stem to plant, for example strawberry, the weak stem plants give off the advantage. This weak stem plant touches the ground and give off the adventitious branches and buds. when the connections to the parent plant is broken, it can develop into a new plant. So here the plants propagated through the stem. So certain weak stemmed plant, the branches of the weak stem touches the soil, and when it will produce the adventitious branches and buds. When the connection with the parent plant is broken, it can develop into a new plant. So plants propagated through stem, example strawberry. Weak stem plant, the weak stem touches the ground and give off adventitious roots and buds. When the connections to the parent plant is broken, it can develop into a new plant. So for example, so plants propagated through stem, example strawberry. Through stem, example strawberry. Next, plants propagated through roots. The tuberous roots present in dahlia as well as sweet potato. These plants can produce the young one through the roots. Okay, the tuberous roots can be used for vegetative propagation. Example: dahlia plant, asparagus, and sweet potato. The roots are tuberous. The swollen tuberous roots can develop into the young one. So plants propagated through root, example dahlia, then sweet potato, etc. Next, plants propagated through bulbils. Plants propagated through bulbils. Some plants propagated through bulbils. In some plants, the flower bud modifies into globose bulb. These are called bulbils or bulbs. When these falls on the suitable substratum or suitable soil, it can develop into the young plant. So plants propagated by bulbils. In some plants, the flower bud modifies into globose bulb. These bulbs are called bulbils. Through bulbils, the plants can propagate and it produces the young ones. So vegetative reproduction in plants takes place by means of leaves, stem, root, bulbils. Okay, so in this case there is no mitotic division. There is no meiotic division, only mitotic division, and there is no gamettic union. Okay, so these are the methods of vegetative propagation in plants. So vegetative propagation, in the sense, the plant can reproduce the young ones by the vegetative cells or by somatic cells. Now next, about the fragmentation. Some plants, for example, the filamentous algae, namely Spirogyra. The Spirogyra filamentous algae, the plant body is thallus. It can be broken into certain segments. Each segment can develop into the young one. So this plant body or this algal plant body, that is broken into certain segments, and each segment can develop into a young one. So thus plants can propagate by this fragmentation. So breaking of filamentous algae into many fragments. This is a filamentous algae having spiral chloroplast. This filamentous algae is breaking into certain segments or divides into certain segments. These segments are called fragments. These are the fragments. These fragments can develop into a new algae. Example, Spirogyra. Next method is fission. In this type, the parental cell, this is the parental cell, elongates and divides into two and form two daughter cells. The example, amoeba. Okay, fission. In this type of propagation or in this type of reproduction, the parental cell elongates and divides into two and form two daughter cell. Example, amoeba. Next, about budding. Budding means the formation of buds. Okay, a bud arising from this is the parental yeast cell. A bud arising, this is a bud. A bud arising from the parental cell is responsible for the development of the young one. A bud arising from the parent body, example, yeast. Next method is regeneration. The ability of lost body parts of an organism. Some body parts lost, and the lost parts of a body can develop into the young one. Example, planaria hydra. Okay, so into this, the last parts of a body can develop into the young one. So the body parts can develop into an individual organism example, planaria and hydra. These are the methods of vegetative propagation. Okay, then filamentous algae. This algae can reproduce the young filament by fragmentation. The filamentous algae, the filament can be broken into segments. Each segment can develop into the young one. Then in amoeba, the method of propagation is fission. Fission in amoeba, the parental cell, this is the parental cell, it can be divided into two and form two daughter cells. This is called fission. Then budding. Budding means with the help of buds, these organism can produce the young ones. For example, yeast cell, the surface of this plant parental cell, a bud can develop. This each crosswall is formed between these two, and the chain of buds also formed from the parental cell. When it is detached from the parental one, each buds can develop into a young one. Okay, these are the methods of propagation. Next is asexual reproduction. So, what about vegetative reproduction? Vegetative reproduction takes place by means of vegetative cells or from the somatic cells. So, vegetative reproduction takes place through the vegetative cells or by the somatic cells. There is the sex organs are not involved in this method of reproduction. Next is asexual reproduction. Production of offspring or production of young ones by a single parent without the fusion of gametes. Okay, what do you mean by asexual reproduction? Production of an offspring or production of new one or young one by a single parent without the involvement of gametes, without the involvement of male and female gametes. That is asexual reproduction. So, in asexual reproduction also, there is no gametic union. There is no male and female gametic union. It occurs by means of spore formation. In rhizopus or in mucor, the plant body is called mycelium. The fungus mucor, the plant body is called what? Mycelium. Okay, what is it called? Mycelium. It will produce a spore-bearing structure called sporangium. Mycelium, the plant body of fungus is called mycelium. This is rhizopus. Mycelium. The plant body is called mycelium. This it is made up of the filamentous structure called hyphae. This hyphae bear a spore-bearing structure called sporangium. The sporangium encloses spores. What is it called? Spores. The sporangium encloses spores. So, asexual reproduction takes place by means of spores in certain fungi, for example rhizopus or mucor. The plant body is called mycelium. It is made up of filamentous structure called hyphae. Okay, plant body is made up of a filamentous structure called hyphae. This hyphae, at the time of asexual reproduction, this hyphae bear The sporangium or spore bearing structures called sporangium. Okay, the sporangium encloses the spores. The spore bearing structure sporangium develops from the fungal hyphae. Next, the nucleus. The nucleus divides several times, and each nucleus divides several times, and cytoplasm is also there inside, and a few small minute spores are developed. These spores encloses the nucleus and cytoplasm, and the spores encloses the nucleus also. When these sporangium gets broken, when the wall gets ruptured, the sporangiospores are liberated out. When it falls on the suitable substratum, it can develop into the young one. Okay, thus the plants can reproduce through through asexual reproduction. Next, about the sexual reproduction in plants. The process of sexual reproduction, in the sense, the process of gametic union. Okay, so here there is no gametic union. This vegetative and asexual, there is no gametic union. Only mitotic division takes place. Only mitotic division takes place. Here, in sexual reproduction, when two gametes, male and female gametes, fuse to produce the young one. You all know that flower is the reproductive part of a plant, isn't it? Which is the reproductive structure, or which is the reproductive organ present in plant? Flower. Flower is the reproductive organ of a flowering plant. You all so flower is a condensed modified shoot, isn't it, ma? Flower is a condensed modified shoot. Now this you are going to learn the parts of a typical flower. Okay, parts of a typical flower. So flower is a reproductive organ, sexual reproductive organ of a plant. Each flower is having 4 floral parts, isn't it, ma'am? Sir, each flower is having a 4 floral parts. This is calyx. What is a calyx? Parts of a typical flower, calyx. Then this one is these brightly colored parts, that's corolla. What is a corolla? This is corolla, calyx, and this is androecium. The third one is androecium, and the fourth one is what is it now? What this is gynoecium. Okay, androecium, gynoecium. These are the 4 floral parts. Name the 4 floral parts: calyx, corolla. This is androecium, and this one is gynoecium, isn't it? So the first two, calyx and corolla, these are non-essential parts of a flower because they do not take part directly in reproduction. So these are non-essential parts. Okay, these 2 parts do not take part directly in reproduction. This calyx is made up of green colored sepals. These sepals protect the flower when it is bud. Okay, so calyx is made up of sepals. These sepals protect the flower when it is bud. Corolla are made up of petals. Corolla are made up of brightly colored petals. So corolla are made up of, these are the petals. Corolla are made up of petals. Then androecium, it is made up of stamen. Androecium, it is made up of stamen. Gynoecium is made up of pistil or carpels. Gynoecium is made up of pistils or carpels. Pistils or carpels. Okay. And so first to calyx and corolla are non-essential parts because they do not take part directly in reproduction. But androecium and gynoecium, these are essential parts of a flower. They do take part directly in reproduction. So these two are the essential parts. Calyx is made up of sepals, corolla are made up of petals, androecium are made up of stamen, and gynoecium is made up of carpels. Okay. First about calyx. This calyx is usually green in color. These calyx protect the flower when it is bud. Then corolla are brightly colored. These corolla attracts the insects for pollination. Then androecium. It's the male part of the flower. Which is the male part of the flower? Androecium. It is composed of stamen. Androecium is the male part of the flower composed of stamen. Each stamen is having a stalk that is called filament and a bag-like structure at the top that is called anther. Each stamen is having a filament and anther. If you take a stamen, you can see the filament stalk of the stamen and a bag-like structure at the tip that is called anther. Okay, so this anther encloses the pollen sac or pollen grains. Pollen grains are there inside the pollen sac. This is the male part of the flower. This androecium is the male part of the flower. Okay, gynoecium is the female part of the flower. It consists of ovary, style, and stigma. What is this? Ovary, style, and stigma. These are the parts of gynoecium. Gynoecium is the female part of the flower. It consists of ovary, style, and stigma. These are the parts of gynoecium. Okay, mom? So what are the parts of gynoecium? Ovary, style, stigma. This is the female part of the flower. Gynoecium is the female part of the flower. Each flower, this gynoecium consists of carpels or pistils. It encloses the egg. Listen, so now you are going to learn the structure of pollen grain. Each pollen grain is having an it consists of two layers with two walls. Each pollen grain is having two walls. Outer egg sign. The pollen grain is having two layered wall, outer egg sign. What is it? Outer egg sign and inner thin intine. Outer thick egg sign and inner thin intine. So each pollen grain consists of double layered wall, outer thick egg sign and inner thin intine. The outer thick egg sign is provided with a pore called germ pore. Germ pore. This egg sign is not a continuous one, interrupted by a pore called germ pore. Intine is the thin inner layer which is made up of pectin and cellulose. It encloses two nucleus. One is vegetative nucleus and a generative nucleus. Vegetative nucleus and a generative nucleus. Okay, this vegetative nucleus is large and generative nucleus is small. This generative nucleus divides and form two male gametes. Okay, this generative this cell divides mitotically and produces two male gametes. This is the structure of pollen grain. So pollen grain is the male. The pollen grain is the male reproductive part of a flower. It consists of two or double layered wall. Outer wall is egg sign. It is thick and it is provided with a pore called germ pore. Inner wall is thin intine, and it is made up of pectin and cellulose. It encloses the nucleus, two nuclei, that is a vegetative nucleus and the generative nucleus, or vegetative cell or generative cell. This generative cell divides mitotically and produce two male gametes. This is the structure of your flower. Listen. So the structure of a flower is having four floral parts, namely calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Calyx is made up of sepals, corolla made up of petals, androecium is made up of stamen. Androecium is the male part of the flower. Gynoecium is made up of carpels or pistils, made up of, it's a female reproductive part of a flower. This gynoecium consists of three parts, namely ovary, style, stigma. Okay, so this ovary encloses the female reproductive structure, or it encloses the egg. Okay, ma. The structure of what about androecium? It's the male reproductive part of a flower. It consists of filament and anther encloses the pollen sac. Within the pollen sac, pollen grains are present. This is the structure of pollen grain. Pollen grain it is covered by double wall, outer exine, which is thick, and it is provided with a pore called germ pore, and the inner thin intine. It is made up of pectin and cellulose, which encloses cytoplasm and two larger nuclei. Vegetative nucleus is larger and generative nucleus is smaller. This generative cell divides mitotically and produces two male gametes. This is the structure of a flower. Okay, children, now we turn the page. Turn page to 256. Write the answer for choose the correct answer. The plant which propagates with the help of its leaves, that is bryophyllum. Second one, asexual reproduction takes place through budding in yeast. Third one, syngamy, that means the fusion of male and female. Okay, syngamy results in the formation of zygote. Then fourth one, the essential parts of a flower are androecium and gynoecium. These five, choose the correct answer. You must learn and write in the notebook. And also one more detailed answer. Page number 245. Write down the question. Describe the parts of a typical flower. Describe the parts of a typical flower. From the first paragraph, from here your flower is a modified shoot with limited growth. From there to the ovary contains the ovules. Turn next page up to that. You mark it. The ovary contains the ovules. Okay. Then so today's work, you have to write this answer and draw these diagrams in the notebook, as well as the 5 one-word answer also you must write it in the notebook. In the previous chapter you did not mark a few question answers, that you mark it now. Page 240. Page 240. First and second you marked already. Then third one, that also marked. The long answer, second one. Describe an experiment. Roman number 8. Page number 241. Roman number 8. Second question. Describe an experiment which demonstrates the growth stimulating hormone is produced at the tip of the coleoptile. It is in page number 230. Page number 230. The experiment, vent experiment, you mark it. Fully you mark it. Auxin means to grow. Okay, we can continue in the next class. Thank you, children.